How am I supposed to make progress in this event when the A26 is so fun to play? You go into a match, you DACA some pillboxes, you just wreck the heck out of enemies, and God help them if your opponents are the Japanese, because you're just gonna 50 cal their low speed fighters as they try and stick to your tail, or outrun them. There's really not much you can do. Okay, you gotta be very gentle, okay? Hey, do I smell poo-poo? Are you poopy?
No,
you're not poopy. Okay, you gonna do some makeup for Daddy? Okay. Make me look just like Captain America, okay? Stand by, citizens! I'm Captain America! Okay, hold still. So, I am having makeup applied via colored pencil to my lips. I need to be cautious. And you are currently watching the full force of American armies descending upon the Japanese nation. We are tearing into this island like a pack of vicious piranhas. No! And I'm gonna have a fantastic match in the A26, but do not let this go unnoted. I have had fun match after fun match in the A26. In fact, the only bad match I had was where a certain, I think he was speaking Portuguese or something. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, but I've noticed some very aggressive Portuguese players in this game. That's by no means typical of all of them, but a few of them seem to be especially caustic toward other male competition. Maybe it's a machismo thing, I don't know. But, okay, do my eyebrows, baby. Be very careful. It's right next to my eyes. Anyway, it's funny. I should mention the one bad match I had because this guy shot me down and then said some things in a language that I don't speak, but it sounded Portuguese to me. Anyway, maybe it was Brazilian. That would maybe make a little bit more sense, except that he really ought to be playing on South American servers at that point. I suppose if you're... Yes, you are coloring on my face. And you are precious. I love you. So, our first heads up with a Japanese fighter, and he turns below us the way you ought to, but by the time this Zero-san manages to do his flat spin loop against me, he's already lost enough energy that he will never, ever catch me, and I have places to be. I've been spending a lot of time practicing and maintaining my straight line speed and energy, playing the AU-1 Corsair and the P-38. They really got me ready for the real star of this event, the A26. This is the version that has 14 pilot-controlled 50 cals spread amongst the wings and the nose. And when you get within convergence on any target, you press the delete button and it gets deleted. Light pillboxes, most light ground, or all light ground targets, and any enemy aircraft that gets in that cone of death will experience the cone of death. No fortitude save, death. And it will kill a lot of hit dice of enemies. But these pillboxes are going to take a different stroke, and I dare say we are actually going to fail to achieve victory here. I still was experiencing that consistent amount of packet loss that War Thunder servers just seem to have now, and I think that sort of explains some of why my bombs were so poor. But those final 2,000 kilogram bombs, or sorry, 1,000-pound bombs, to speak in freedom talk, they looked like they should have done some damage. They didn't do some damage. Oh well, you live, you learn, you spray down the enemy airfield AA, because I think it actually counts as field AA in this particular scenario. Okay. On my cheekies, This blue, what do you call that? Grease pencil? Maybe grease crayon, huh? Anyway, sorry, I'm having my cosmetics done by Brooklyn again. Sorry, Guppy. Guppy, who are you today?
Spider-Man.
You're Spider-Man.
That I can stay for days.
Yeah? So, here we are finishing off our ground strike run on the other island. We tore through that first island like nobody's business. It was truly terrifying. And the amount of mileage you get out of this A26, especially if, unlike me, you decide to conserve your ammo a bit, is just ridiculous. I used to enjoy the B-25, but I honestly feel like at 4-3 it faces way stronger competition than it can handle because, unlike the A26, you cannot compete in terms of straight line speed with fighters that you'll face. Something that really helps me against these Japanese fighters, as they still tend to lack the straight line speed that Germans, Italians, and a lot of the other powerhouse nations can bring to the table. And their guns are still not quite as deadly, for the most part, as the aforementioned. So, if I keep a cool head, keep my energy, and keep firing at the enemy, eventually something comes together, and already with a handful of ground kills against AI targets that bleed out the tickets from the enemy team, even more effectively on other maps that are not naval maps where you have a bunch of light pillboxes you can destroy for victory, as well as a first fighter kill that will not be my last fighter kill. I'm definitely contributing to this match. And if you've paused the video to take a look at the scoreboard when I briefly bring it up a few times, you'll notice that our lineup is mostly B-17s and A-26s. Any other day, that would mean a bad day. But against the Japanese, survivability, 50 cals, high speed for some of us, and a serious power to lay down the smackdown, as we've already picked up our second fighter kill and working on our third, getting some good hits into that A7, who's wise enough to pull away and save his aggression for a less defensive target. In fact, it's that A26 who may possibly have been the guy who killed me in my one bad match. He just showed up, and before any words were exchanged, I suppose the fact that we were in the same area of the map as attackers was enough to convince him to chase after me and team kill me. Ineptly, by the way. It took him a long time to dig that knife in, but I wasn't really targeting him until his, second or third pass on me, and it's not like you can really defensive fly against an A26 in an A26. But Gratis, if you're not the same Gratis that shot me down, then my apologies, and if you are, then, well, your life is probably enough of a punishment for your behavior, more than I could bring you anyway. But I did send in the team kill report to the snail anyway. If somebody blatantly team kills you, I feel that's fair. And I did try to shoot that guy down, that team killer, whoever he was, in that one bad match. But my defensive guns were no match for 14 forward-facing 50 cals. And I kind of smell the paint that Brooklyn is painting all over my face. Sorry, Spider-Man. And she's very pleased with what she's doing. So this is probably going to be an interesting picture that goes up on my Discord again. You guys can also see how much my hair has grown out here in captivity. I don't leave the house anyway, and I kind of let my hair go in cycles because I'm sort of a low-maintenance guy when it comes to my image. But the A26 is a beautiful ground striker. And, give me a beautiful haircut, baby. Please don't put color in my hair, okay? No color hair, please. So here we are going back to the landing strip that we have actually secured, which this sort of dynamic changes in the map are something that you see in a lot of the older maps in War Thunder. More AI, actual capturing of airfields, and setting up of new landing strips. I think that would be really cool to have in all of our maps. Maybe sort of a central forward landing strip for both sides that is neutral, and then both forces have AI ground units moving toward that airfield or landing strip to claim it. That would be really cool. And then you could intercept them, and whoever's forces get through will give you a new forward base. But, well, that's just not happening. That would be a really cool thing to see in Enduring Confrontation, which is where they test a lot of neat new mechanics for War Thunder battles. But that is not going to be the focus of the rest of this video. That would be really cool. To where, say, they have these ground battles in Enduring Confrontation, and maybe when you win a ground battle, you could also start building a forward airstrip. That could be pretty cool. And it wouldn't have any AA, so it would be risky to land there, but it's sort of a risk-reward situation. Just like this A7M with, I'm not sure if it's wingtip smoke or a damaged, it's wingtip smoke. At this point, he will receive a damaged engine, I assure you. I mean, it's guaranteed. You come within 2 kilometers of an American attacker or bomber with defensive guns, and you just get handed engine smoke by Hirohito. So it's just the way it is. I've definitely suffered on the other side of this. And look at this. The A7 makes a single pass, and I'm already 5 kilometers away from him. You just can't catch an American that don't want to be caught. And the A26 is so good at using its speed at low altitude in a straight line to get out of a sticky situation. It has that same feel to it as the ME262, A1U4 Narwhal, with the idea that if you play your cards right, you can actually actively keep yourself from being taken down just by causing enemies to need to draw themselves out further than they want to be drawn out, to chase you for longer than they want to chase you. And you have these fantastic robot turrets on this thing that can send some 50 cal punishment toward the enemy, and the fact that they're flying toward them means that they will have more punch flying in the face of the enemy fighter than the enemy's guns will have, at least in terms of kinetics. Of course, high explosive chemical rounds being so popular among the cannon-wielding aircraft you'll face make a big difference. And it looks like this enemy space potato is jumping out of his aircraft for the invulnerability, but I'm just going to try shooting him anyway. And the weird thing is, like, it shows up that his engine's on fire right here, and then I drop some bombs on him. But I think, yeah, he actually glitched, or he disappeared, he despawned, and then jumped back in the aircraft, and that's how my bombs had no effect on him. But what you're going to see here is actually a decent number of hits from my defensive 50 cals as he's taking off. And those didn't really seem to phase him, but there's plenty more where that came from. So, along those lines, how many of you guys want to see me aggressively attack a Japanese fighter? I think I see some hands. Let's do this. What do you mean this isn't live commentary? Anyway, we are going to have us some fun tonight. Another thing I should mention about the A26 before I get off the topic is it does have this big, beautiful rudder in the rear of the aircraft that sticks up very high. Doesn't block too much of your view because it is a slim boy, but it's absolutely fucking useless, and it kind of seems like it shouldn't be. Now, I fully understand that the wings of this thing are very large. It is a heavy aircraft, but look at the size of this rudder. You should be able to push some air around with it, but instead it just kind of flippy flops. It's enough to get your guns on target, but it's not enough to perform a decent skid, which is a fantastic defensive maneuver. It's not enough to pull some spicy aerial maneuvers. Anything where you'd be kicking your rudder around to get yourself on target just isn't going to be an option in the A26, and I really feel like that's a shame because it does reduce the maneuverability of this aircraft down quite a bit. You shouldn't be using maneuvers very often in this aircraft, as your speed and defensive guns and fantastic forward-facing firepower are much, much more reliable than any kind of salsa footwork. But just the fact that the rudder is sort of impotent on this machine, and it's not useless, it's very stable. It's good for stability, but you can just see it kind of flopping around limply here, and that's sort of what it does. And this might not look like a dogfight to you, but it definitely is to me. And there's a lot of things that I'm managing right now. One of them is engine temperature. You can see that both engines want to overheat, and one of them has actually taken a little bit of damage. Thankfully, the armor, and I think there is some unmodeled or unviewed. There's more armor on these airplanes than what is actually viewable in the armor protection analysis. At least, how else could your engine cowling take damage and then the engine itself not take damage? But you can see, speaking of not taking damage, that is a lot of Ma Deuce going down range to no effect. But at least we have a psychological impact on our foe, as we should. Sometimes fear is an acknowledgement of being in a very, very bad situation. And Hirohito is not validating the passports of Japanese fighter pilots. They all need to stay in the field, apparently. So this guy, this honorable space potato pilot, my hat's off to you, bud. You did your best, and in keeping with tradition, you did not return home when the battle went south. But it is going to be a little while before he goes down, and he's pulling off the right maneuvers for him against some really, really scary opposition. When you've got multiple A26s in the air, not only are they difficult to take down initially, just when you have every kind of advantage, but then when you're outnumbered and they're performing gun runs on you, you can see, look at this. Look at the fire coming into this guy just consistently, just because of the durability of these American aircraft. As we managed to pick up a crit on his wing, he has actually survived a bit more damage than you would expect, even as Allied destroyers are helping me out to lay down the hurt on this space cowboy. And yet there's only so much time that he can persist. We take some long range shots, and we're really starting to get a feel for the 50 cals, and it definitely doesn't hurt that we have 8 in the nose stacked on top and beside each other, giving us a half-inch caliber shotgun in the nose. Some fantastic firepower, shutting off the engines to cool them down, and we won't need these where we're going, because we're going to the victory screen. And that, as they say, is that. Hope you enjoyed. That was the last enemy aircraft, and we have accomplished victory. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.